most watched news starts now.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the Koam Morning News. We find ourselves at 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. Coming up this half hour, Kansas City T-Bones. That's right, T-Bones. Returning to the field under a familiar name this season. We're going to have those details. And a new survey finds many Americans turn to social media to get their news for our morning talker on not only the KOM Facebook page, but also our Something to Talk About, asking, coincidentally enough, where do you get your most news from? You can participate in our Insta poll. Go to komnewsnow.com/vote. We will start, though, with a look at our temperatures. It's a little bit chilly. We got anything ranging from high 30s down in northeast Oklahoma to mid 20s up in northwest southeast Kansas, 25 only right now in Iowa. As we see those winds shift and picks up a little bit too. We saw an increase there overnight. Now, hopefully you slept through it. It wasn't anything damaging by any means, as the majority of the precipitation nationally stays down in the deep Gulf. Now, as we push into the weekend, today's actually going to have a lot more sunshine than what we had yesterday. We deserve it. Yesterday was just kind of overcast, cloudy, not too bad temperature-wise. But then as we work into Saturday, we get our temperatures back into the 50s, and then comes the cloud cover. And then on Sunday, that's when we develop everything that's going on, as we're going to have to ride precipitation chances all the way into next week with cooler temperatures on the backside of it and a chance for a little rain to turn into snow by the time we get into the middle of next week. 1 million more Kansans are now eligible to receive coronavirus vaccines. This as the Sunflower State moves to Phase 2 of vaccine distribution. Phase 2, handled by county health departments across the state, Wilson, Cherokee, and Neosho counties, either scheduling appointments or creating waiting lists. Health officials ask residents stay patient because the vaccine is still limited, so appointments will be limited as well.
Eventually we'll get enough vaccine to be able to vaccinate whoever wants to be vaccinated. And we hope that happens sooner rather than later. But until then, we are doing our absolute best to find the most at risk and the most exposed and get them first.
And we have more information on how to schedule a vaccine appointment on our page. Just go to komnewsnow.com/vaccine. Missouri Governor Mike Parson says he'll activate the Missouri National Guard to help with vaccine distribution across the Show Me State. Governor Parson says the state will establish mass vaccination sites with a team assigned to each of Missouri's 9 highway patrol regions. Each team is going to have the capability to administer as much as 2,500 doses per day. We've lost 13 more people to COVID-19 in Joplin and Jasper County alone. Health Department yesterday saying the death toll in the city jumped by 7. That now leaves the number at 112. Elsewhere in Jasper County, it jumped to 6, a total of 119, making it a total of 231 lives lost to COVID in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The 13 men and women added to the death toll ranged in age from 50 to their 80s. For updated COVID information from other area communities, you can go to our link at komnewsnow.com. A transcatheter aortic valve replacement. If you're in the healthcare business, you call it a TAVR. It's a minimally invasive procedure for heart patients who cannot risk open heart surgery. And yesterday, Freeman Health System celebrated providing more than 200 of those surgeries. Officials say it requires a team of surgeons and also represents a milestone for the hospital.
Joel, these procedures uniquely make people for hours to notice a huge difference in how they feel. There are a few things that we do that really give people stand here having done 200 cases. We hope.
If you're not familiar with the TAVR procedure, in between about 45 minutes to 2 hours, and varies. And just done, though, under general anesthesia. That's the really unique thing about it. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies teamed up to find and arrest a suspect who's wanted for multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an air and ground search. Whitaker, released on furlough by a judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. They found a stolen truck chained to an ATM on Main Street in Parsons. Benjamin Whitaker is now in the Woodson County Jail. Seneca, Missouri School District considering a 4-day school week. Main reason is to help students. Change would extend the school day by about 30 minutes. That gives more time to help students in areas where they may struggle. School district sent out a survey to parents to see how they may feel, and results showed a majority are either in favor of the proposed change or some just said they did not care.
Because I was really expecting it to be about 50-50, 50% of the people for it, 50% of the people against it. But the survey results, we were more along the lines of about 70% were either strongly for it, or, you know what, 5-day, 4-day, it doesn't matter to me.
A committee will meet to develop a 4- and 5-day school calendar, which will then be presented to the school board on February 15th. It's an annual tradition at Fort Scott National Cemetery, the placing of fresh holiday wreaths on every site. Employees of Peerless in Fort Scott, also a major sponsor of the Koam Toy Box, spent Wednesday at the cemetery to help clean and preserve the national site that contained more than 6,000 wreaths over the holiday season. To make sure they observed social distancing, Peerless employees worked in shifts all day long, partnering with the Fort Scott School District to help preserve the memory of those who have served our country. Truly an amazing sight out there at the Fort Scott National Cemetery. I want to thank personally all the people at Peerless who put their time and dedication into help making that site look pristine, as well as everything that you did for 4 State kids over the holidays for the Koam Toy Box. Going to get some more sunshine than what we did yesterday. Highs today around 46 degrees. Now, we start to get a little change come Sunday night as we get some rain that begins to roll in. And that not only leads us to cooler temperatures for next week, but also a little possibility of some snow as we go from Monday into Tuesday. That is a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up next on the KOM Morning News, 2 of the hottest teams in the MIAA met last night in Pittsburgh. We got you highlights. Plus, why Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination map shows only a handful of locations where you can get vaccinated. And a new study finds more than half of Americans get their news from. We're going to find out. More real news in the morning. Two of the hottest teams in the MIAA met last night in Pittsburgh. Pitt State Gorillas hosting the undefeated Nebraska Kearney Lopers. Now, Pitt State came in on a 7-game win streak. UNK 10-0. How about this? Ranked 4th in the nation. First quarter, Kaylee DeMitz for the 3. First lead for Pitt State. Still down 5, though, after 1 quarter. Second quarter, late in the shot clock, Sydney Crane, turnaround Jay. Get it. Tristan Gegg, drive, finish. She had 9 in the first half. PSU within 3. Maya Williams, 2 threes in the third quarter alone. That one from the right side. Back to Gegg. If she's in the gym, Tristan Gegg says, I am open. Gorillas up 1 going into the 4th. Up 1 going into the 4th. There's a reason why Kearney is good. Gegg had 18. Kearney stays perfect. Comebacks, wins this thing, 57-53.
It just burns for me because I know we could win that game. If we scored a few more points, if she didn't bank that 3 in at the beginning of the game. It's just those little things that, in my heart, I knew that we could win this game. For Saturday, we have to put this loss behind us, and we owe Hayes one, so we really need to come in Friday practice tomorrow, heads in, energy high, and we have to try and get this win Saturday.
Yeah, don't tell me Amanda Davis teams don't take that stuff personally. Yeah, they do. I love that. All right, men's game. Early on, Cedric Johnson, 3 for UNK. Loper scores the first 7 of the night. Other end, Bobby Arthur Williams hits the jumper, but just 2 field goals for Gorillas in the first 9 minutes of the game. Ike Moore. Yeah, finish that off. Gorillas get within 6 then before the half. Arthur Williams working inside. But Pitt State just not able to keep up with Kearney. Lopers sweep this thing 85-75. Missouri Southern Lions also at home last night. League matchup against Fort Hays State. Southern women enter the night 4-6, having lost 3 straight games. Now, last night against the Tigers, freshman Caitlin Honeycutt had 12, Amaya Johns had 10, but the Lions fall 70-49. Southern shooting 31% from the floor. Missouri Southern men 5-5 on the season, trying for back-to-back wins for the first time since November. Early in the first half, Lawson Jenkins, take that. Southern out to a quick 6-point lead. That dude, Cam Martin, 19 points last night. Stan Scott, finish it one-handed, big man. Stan Scott scored 32 last night. Boom, hit that. Now the Lions forced overtime, but the Tigers finished this one off as well, 102-94. I'm about out of energy. I love Stan Scott highlights. I love Cam Martin highlights. To make my mornings fun. I love it. Now at the high school level, Pittsburgh girls, 6th in Class 5A in Kansas. How about that? Taking on Carl Junction, who are ranked 6th in Class 5 in Missouri. Now CJ hands the Dragons first loss of the season. Bulldogs win at 75-43. Pitt 6-1 this season. Now it's not a certainty right now, but Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is trending toward being available for Sunday's AFC Championship game against the Bills. Mahomes was limited at practice yesterday, but did take the majority of starter reps, and this is all according to head coach Andy Reid. Of course, Mahomes has been in concussion protocol since suffering that injury last weekend against the Browns. Still technically in concussion protocol, and he's not the only one. Also, Bashad Breeland, he's in concussion protocol as well. But the fact that they were out yesterday on the practice field, that is no doubt a positive sign.
They all got good work in, and that was the important thing as we went through today. It was good tempo. The guys again, it was a good first step to getting things going.
The Kansas City Monarchs, that's right, the Kansas City Monarchs are returning to the baseball field. Well, that's the T-Bones, as you may know them, will now be known as the Kansas City Monarch Baseball Club. Savannah Rudisell has more on the story about the rebranding.
This name change is more than just a different uniform. It's a bridge between the past and the present.
The Negro Leagues Baseball Museum shared ownership of the Monarchs name to get it out of the display case and onto the field.
Of several different uniforms.
President of the museum, Bob Kendrick, says this is the way to make history relevant.
When those young players put on those Monarch pinstripes, the legacy of Satchel Paige and Buck O'Neill, Hilton Smith, they play on.
The name connects the players as well as the two Kansas cities. The team plays at the stadium in KCK, and part of the proceeds will help sustain the museum in KC-Mo.
So in Kansas City, Kansas, we are honored to be a part of your efforts to celebrate the glory of these athletes.
New Monarchs team owner Mark Brandmeier says he's excited to unite the two through the values and the history of the Negro Leagues.
Just such an iconic brand here in Kansas City, and so we're just thrilled to be able to carry on that legacy.
Now the pressure is on to uphold the winning record and the iconic name.
Welcome your Kansas City Monarchs.
Now, I was not aware of this before reading that story. For those of you that know me, and I am a huge baseball fan, I think that is all too awesome right there, especially to bring back the iconic KC on the top of the baseball hat. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, the Japan Summer Olympics will continue as planned, but some experts say it could be too risky. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. High is going to make it up into the 40s today, a little bit cooler than what we had yesterday, but we're also too going to see more sunshine. Really don't need to worry about anything affecting us until we get into late Saturday night and into Sunday, and then we've got a chilly end to the end of January. A new survey finds many Americans turn to social media to get their news, and this month the Pew Research Center released the results of a survey conducted last fall. So our question to you on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, where do you get your news from? You can log on to the Facebook page, leave your comments, and also hit us up at komnewsnow.com/vote. Healthwatch is next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, as states move through their COVID-19 vaccine plans, supply continues to be an issue. Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination map shows only a handful of locations where folks can get vaccinated, but the Health Department administrator in Newton County, Missouri says that's about to change. KOAM's Mike Mahoney has details.
If you take a look at Missouri's current COVID-19 vaccine map, you might think there are a variety of options when it comes to getting vaccinated in southwest Missouri. But that's not currently the case. Click on the vast majority of those locations with the exception of Joplin's Mercy and Freeman Hospitals and a few others, and you'll receive a message saying contact information will be included when provided by the vaccination site. A spokesman for Mercy tells KOAM that he doesn't know why Mercy got the vaccine first, but the Newton County Health Administrator has an idea.
With the Pfizer, you have to use dry ice or extremely cold freezer temperatures that most places don't have those facilities. Moderna, you can keep it refrigerated for 30 days, much easier to handle.
Newton County Health Department head Larry Bergner has been responding to hundreds of emails from folks wondering when and where they can get vaccinated, and he's got an answer.
Many providers were able to order vaccine this week. Yesterday, Wednesday, we actually made an order. And so we anticipate that we'll be getting that vaccine hopefully next week, if not the week after.
And the vaccine might even get here sooner than that, after the Show Me State's vaccination plan got a shot in the arm from the governor and the National Guard.
We will be activating the National Guard to help speed up the vaccination process. Today, we are announcing a partnership between the National Guard, the Department of Health and Senior Services, and other state partners to establish mass vaccination sites across the state. There will be a mass vaccination team assigned to each of Missouri's 9 Highway Patrol regions. Each team will have the capability to administer as many as 2,500 doses per day.
In Newton County, Missouri, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
The head of the Newton County Health Department says vaccinations will be by appointment only at that facility, and he expects that to be standard operating procedure for most Missouri vaccination spots. Data from the CDC shows national vaccination rates for kindergarten-aged children hit 95% for the 2019-2020 school year. The pandemic is expected to impact that high rate this school year. And a new study shows there's no such thing as being fat and fit. Researchers studied more than 500,000 adults in Spain and found overweight and obese participants were at greater cardiovascular risk than those with normal weights, irrespective of their activity levels. Active obese people were about 2 times as likely to have high cholesterol compared to inactive people at normal weights, 4 times greater risk to have diabetes, and 5 times more likely to have high blood pressure. A study of high school students' diets finds just 2% eat enough vegetables and only 7% include enough fruits in their diet. The U.S. Department of Agriculture recommends at least 1.5 cups of fruit and 2.5 cups of vegetables each day for girls and 2 cups of fruit and 3 cups of vegetables for boys. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
The latest as Kansas moves to phase 2 of vaccine distribution. Plus a look into why Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination sites have a limited supply, and Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour for a Morning Talker, we're asking, where do you get most of your news from? And how Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders took some of the spotlight at Wednesday's presidential inauguration. But first, a check on your forecast.
Got a little less cloud cover than what we had yesterday for certain, and that's actually going to mean cool temperatures overnight as we hang down around the freezing point. Let's roll these. We'll get to the Freeman Skywatch sky camera here in a little bit. 35 in Joplin, 32 in Parsons, and 31 right now in Stockton. But all the precipitation stays down to the deep south for the time being. As it rolls through the Gulf Coast, way away from us, you're going to have to get a little bit of rain there in northwestern Arkansas as the closest our counties are going to see. And for our weather trim for the next 24, able to move up into the mid-40s. So cooler than what we had yesterday, even though we have more sunshine, but still a delightful beginning to our weekend until Saturday night. That's when we begin to pick up the rain as it moves in from the Gulf Coast, and by Sunday, we're kind of entrenched with it. Cold front on the backside of that, turn that into a little bit of snow by the time we get to the middle of next week.
Snow.
Mm-hmm.
Someone last night was just asking me if we ever get snow in this area, and I said, well, yes, we do. It's been a while.
I gotta go do some IT stuff.
All right, sounds good. I'll do some news stuff. Thanks, Michael. 1 million more Kansans are eligible to receive coronavirus vaccines as the state moves to phase 2 of vaccine distribution. Phase 2 will be handled by county health departments across the state. Wilson, Cherokee, and Neosho counties are either scheduling appointments or creating waiting lists. Health officials ask that residents stay patient because vaccine is still limited, so appointments will be too. Missouri Governor Mike Parson says he will activate the Missouri National Guard to help with vaccine distribution across the state. Governor Parson says the state will establish mass vaccination sites with a team assigned to each of Missouri's 9 highway patrol regions. Each team will have the capability to administer as many as 2,500 doses per day.
On the COVID-19 front, we continue to see encouraging signs in the data. The data shows that cases are declining and vaccine availability is increasing. Missouri's current positivity rate is 12.4, down from a high of 24.4% in November. In the past week alone, our positivity rate has fallen nearly 5 full percentage points. And unlike other states,
the mass vaccination teams will consist of 30 support personnel to help with traffic control, administrative support, and data input. We've lost 13 more people to COVID-19 just in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The health department yesterday said the death toll in the city jumped by 7 to 112. Elsewhere in the county, it jumped by 6 to 119. That's a total of 231 lives lost to COVID just in Joplin and Jasper County. The 13 men and women added to the death toll ranged in age from 50 years old to their 80s. To get an updated COVID information from other area communities, all you have to do is click on the link at KOAMnewsnow.com. Today, a new Cox Hospital will be open in Monette, Missouri, replacing the old one, which was built in 1953. Construction began on the new $42 million hospital in May of 2019. Joe Hickman has more.
Located on the eastern edge of town, right as you enter the Monette city limits, the new Cox Health Hospital is the culmination of 17 years of efforts to replace the old facility, which was built back in 1953.
Medicine has changed dramatically since those days.
And so has the world changed since construction began in May of 2019, as it's not easy to build a new hospital during a pandemic.
We did have our workforce get sick, which caused some delays, but also we had businesses closed down. Businesses we were relying on to get equipment here in time closed, and that caused some delays.
But the 100,000 square foot facility is now 3 days away from opening, with increased technology and better amenities, including emergency care, surgery, radiology, and a unique baby delivery area known as the LDRP room.
That's where you labor, deliver, recover, and postpartum without having to leave your room.
The baby really will never need to leave mom's sight now. We can do all vaccinations, bathing, weighing, caring right there with mom. And that's something I've never seen in another hospital.
The hospital's 25 inpatient beds are the same number as the old hospital.
We are critical access. Critical access is a federal designation, and part of that designation means that you cannot have any more than 25 inpatient beds. What it allows us to do is to grow on the outpatient side.
And Cox Health is doing that by moving all 3 of their primary care clinics to this new facility, where 35,000 outpatients will be served in one place.
And for patients, it means we're in a central location where they have direct access to the hospital. You know, if they need to be admitted, we are on campus. So we don't have to drive across town or check in at our clinic and then check in somewhere else.
A new hospital in a rural town is a rarity these days, as many smaller hospitals have closed their doors. This facility was made possible because of community support and the affiliation with a bigger provider.
If we were a standalone hospital, we wouldn't be able to do that. That's my number one message across the state and honestly across the country. If you value your local health care, you need to use them.
Reporting from Monette, I'm Joe Hickman.
Officials also say the building is constructed in such a way that expansion can be done easily in the future if needed. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities say they found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an errand ground search. Whitaker was released on furlough by a Montgomery County judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities also say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. He's now in the Woodson County Jail. Fort Scott, Kansas residents have wanted a local place to get groceries for a while now, and a new general store just opened up. It's called the Star Emporium Downtown General Store. The owner says he wants to provide budget brands as well as locally sourced produce.
There are several local partnerships that we've got in place. We're working with CHC SEK to bring food delivery program to the community.
Construction of the store took about 60 days and the store opened this week. There is a whiteboard inside where customers can request new items. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast.
Yeah, forecast is going to be mid-40s today, mostly sunny skies.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The story behind Bernie Sanders' viral moment at the inauguration. Plus, at least 32 people were killed in a rare double suicide bombing in Baghdad. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37. Topping Worldwatch, Japan says this summer's Olympic Games will go ahead after being delayed in 2020 because of the pandemic. But some experts say it could be too risky. Ian Lee reports from London.
The venues are ready. They have been for over a year. With 6 months to go before Tokyo hosts the Olympic Games, Japan's prime minister says they're prepared and determined to keep COVID at bay. 15,000 athletes plus support staff are expected to descend on Tokyo in July. Officials are looking at using robots to speed up testing for fans, if they're allowed at all.
Anything is possible, and we need to do the best we can to prepare for the games at this moment.
But much of Japan is still under a state of emergency. The country hasn't even approved a vaccine. COVID cases are on the rise, and so is public opposition to hosting the games.
Now we are facing with far more danger than last year. So why do you have to hold the Olympic Games?
One big factor to push ahead with the world's biggest sporting event is the cost. The government has already spent $15 billion. Ian Lee, CBS News.
More than 80% of people recently polled in Japan say the Olympic Games should be canceled or postponed again. Police on Thursday took into custody 2 top associates of jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny ahead of planned protest against his detention. Navalny was arrested on Sunday when he returned to Russia. He spent 5 months in Germany recovering from the nerve agent poisoning that he blames on the Kremlin. His spokeswoman, Kira Yarmish, was detained by police at her residence several hours after Lyubov Sobol, a lawyer for Navalny's Fund for Fighting Corruption, was also detained. Sobol was held inside the police station for about 4 hours before being released, while Yarmish was left behind bars for the night. In Iraq, at least 32 people were killed and 110 others injured in a rare double suicide bombing in Baghdad on Thursday. Security officials said the bombers blew up themselves in a popular and busy market in central Baghdad. This was the first attack of its kind in Baghdad in nearly 2 years. Iraqi officials said the first bomber pretended to be sick and asked for help, then detonated his explosive. As people gathered, a second suicide bomber drove a motorbike to the scene and detonated his explosive vest. Ecuador's health workers started getting their COVID-19 vaccines on Thursday. Some 8,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine arrived in Quito Wednesday as part of the 86,000 units allocated for Phase 0, which will be administered throughout the next 3 weeks across 96 health centers in the country. The Ecuadorian government hopes 60% of the population will get a vaccine this year. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. On his first full day in office, President Biden signed 10 executive orders and in his administration's war on COVID-19. One of the orders mandates the use of masks in airports and on planes, trains, and intercity buses. Another invokes the Defense Production Act to speed production and delivery of COVID tests, vaccines, masks, and other PPE for healthcare workers. We've lost 13 more people to COVID-19 just in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The health department yesterday said the death toll in the city jumped by 7 to 112. Elsewhere in the county, it jumped by 6 to 119. That's a total of 231 lives lost to COVID just in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The 13 men and women added to the death toll ranged in ages from 50 years old to their 80s. To get an updated COVID information from other area communities, you can click on the link at KOAMnewsnow.com. Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination map shows only a handful of locations where folks can get vaccinated, but the health department administrator in Newton County, Missouri said that's about to change. The reason many sites do not have vaccines yet is because they don't have the means to store the Pfizer vaccine, which requires extremely cold temperatures. It's easier to store the Moderna vaccine, which is what many sites will soon be receiving. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities say they found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an air and ground search. Whitaker was released on furlough by a Montgomery County judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities also say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. He's now in the Woodson County Jail. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, where right now we sit at 35 degrees. On the fields, though, like it's 27. But don't worry, we're going to get more sunshine than what we did yesterday and be able to kick it up into the 40s later on. Very seasonable for this time of year. Not too warm, not too cold, but like I said, it'll be nice clear skies for today. Now, as we push through the 7-day forecast, we got big changes coming. By the time we get into next week, is we're going to have not only a cold front drop in on us for Sunday into Monday, but also a little rain that could change into snow by the time we get into the middle of next week. Now, while I'm at it, you know what else I can do? Because I said I had IT stuff to do. Not that I do IT stuff, but luckily, our good friend Lucas O'Toole, engineer extraordinaire, is here. And so we can actually do our something to talk about this morning. A recent Pew Research Center survey finds 53% of Americans get their news at least sometimes from social media. Our question, where do you get your news the most? We'll start with Robin Strickland. Robin goes AP. I'm with you on that, Robin. I'm with you on that. I read this page for the drama comments. Robin and I got a lot in common. I read my AP for the news. I got to read this page because it's part of the show. Greg Street says he gets it from Koam and Facebook. Victoria Madrid, she says, I might see the headline or claim on social media, but I go digging through various credible sources just to make sure. My friend Dave Sorick, he says national news is everywhere, local news more difficult to find. KOM TV covers some, but it's my go-to for weather and sports. And I promise, and Dave, I appreciate that. This is not a self-serving question. I want everybody to know that. Jody Ralston, this is a good one right here. AP, PBS, BBC, newspapers, and the Journal. And Jody, I appreciate Jody, I would love to know if you. I'm going to guess you go Journal online. It's hard to get the Journal delivered around here, but I understand that Sunday habit. Judy Potter, she goes with KOM. Benny Rice says, my local CBS station. At least I'm going to get some truth, even if it's just the local news. And Benny, I appreciate that. That is, once again, that's our goal. On the Insta poll, 62% of you say that it comes from television, and you can log on. Let us know what you think. KOMNewsNow.com/vote. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News for you right after this.
While most of the attention was focused on our new president Wednesday, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders took some of the spotlight, creating quite the buzz on social media for his inauguration attire. Naomi Ruckham reports from New York.
There was no shortage of fashion statements on Inauguration Day, but one came from a very unlikely source, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The former presidential candidate wore a beige parka and pair of distinctive wool mittens. It all led very quickly to a photo of him sitting cross-legged that went viral on social media.
You know, in Vermont, we dress warm. We know something about the cold, and we're not so concerned about good fashion. We want to keep warm.
Senator Sanders was photoshopped into different scenes, including the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, the bench in Forrest Gump, and even a seat on the New York City subway.
I think it's sweet. I mean, it's very unexpected.
Vermont school teacher Jen Ellis gave Sanders the mittens back in 2016. She makes them out of repurposed wool and fleece.
People wear things from famous fashion designers to the inauguration. And there was Bernie wearing mittens that I made, you know, in my craft room with a sewing machine that my mother gave to me when I was 12.
Don't bother trying to contact Ellis for a pair of her mittens. She says she doesn't have any left. You may have a better chance of getting one of these. A Bernie Sanders Inauguration Day bobblehead has already been unveiled and is available for pre-order. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Now, Ellis says she has had more than 6,000 requests for a pair of her mittens. Michael likes to wear mittens. I do too sometimes.
No, I was reading the story about the Serum Institute that caught fire in India, world's largest vaccine producer for the AstraZeneca vaccine.
I was just trying to lighten things up with some mittens here.
Yeah. I was kind of stuck on that story. Rescued 3 people from the fire, though.
That's good. The rescue.
That is good. I would, yes. I would qualify that part as good.
Not the fire, though. No. Well,
KOM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Question is, where do you get your news from? I happen to be online, as a matter of fact, reading about the Serum Institute fire. Just for those of you who are wondering about it, a little update. It was a new facility being built. Did not affect the 50 million doses of the vaccine that they have on air. They're contracted for $1 billion, by the way. Oh, mic's on. You're good. You can talk. What's up?
No, just tell us more.
Fire broke out in a new facility they were building. The reason they were building a new facility is this is to make sure that they have the capacity to complete that contractual obligation for 1 billion doses. 3 people rescued from the fire, no injuries reported, 50 million doses saved in the 3 existing facilities. They were able to contain the fire to the new one. But Bernie's mittens look cool. We'll be back after this. A little bit more sunshine than what we saw yesterday, but even with that being said, it's going to be cooler than what we had on Thursday. You know, yesterday we were able to get up around 52, 53 degrees during the afternoon hours. Today, even with the sunshine, the cold is dropping in from the northwest, cold Canadian dry air. So we're going to be stuck in the 40s, but really that's very seasonable for this time of year. But we got a nice weekend ahead of us. We're talking about 48 on Saturday. Now Sunday, that's when things change. All the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
The latest as Kansas moves to phase 2 of vaccine distribution. Plus a look into why Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination sites have a limited supply, and Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, a look into how dry cleaners have been hit hard during the pandemic and how some are trying to adapt to stay open. For our morning talker, we're asking, where do you get most of your news from? You can also vote on our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
All the National Guard troops up in D.C. right now from all 4 of our states, and I'm reading about the conditions that they've been subjected to as they keep our capital safe. That's it's interesting to read the stories that they're coming back with. Just, you know, we're hoping for all you men and women to get home safely. That's what we want right now. Get home to your families here in the 4 states. That's what we want. 32 in Pittsburgh and Lamar, 30 in Chanute, as we take a live look from the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, where we sit at 33 degrees. Now, you'll notice the pressure on the rise, and what that means is we're actually going to have some clearing skies for later today, and a whole lot more sunshine than what we experienced on Thursday. Now, with that being said, it's still going to be cooler because the jet stream sweeping in some dry Canadian air that's going to keep us down into the 40s. However, that's very seasonable for this time of year. So it's not like it's not like a cold front sweeping in. Now, as we work into the weekend, that's where we'll finally get some changes. Those will develop after the clouds build Saturday evening. The rain begins on Sunday, and that takes us into not only a cold front, but also a precipitation-filled end of January and beginning of February that will even result in some snow by the middle of the week.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to snow. Do you think this will be enough accumulation with this one that comes through next week?
No, but you may want mittens.
We got to keep those digits warm.
The walk off.
My favorite kind of mittens are the ones that fold back when you need to do something. Dual purpose. All right. Well, Kansas is moving into phase 2 of coronavirus vaccine distribution. The shift opens up eligibility to Kansans 65 and older residents who live in congregate housing like homeless shelters or correctional facilities and high contact critical workers. Local distribution will be handled by the county health departments. KOAM's Zach Dodge has what Southeast Kansans need to do to get signed up.
We are super ready and we're super excited.
And Cherokee County Public Information Officer David Groves says the same. They're ready to start on phase 2.
The health department started taking scheduling appointments this morning, and we'll have our first drive-through vaccination event tomorrow here in Columbus.
Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has announced the move to Phase 2 of the vaccination plan, making 1 million more Kansans eligible to get the vaccine, something that will be handled by each county health department. In most cases, residents will need to have an appointment. So let's go over how to do that. Cherokee County residents should call 620-429-3087 to make an appointment or be placed on the waiting list. Once more vaccine is available, residents on the waiting list will be contacted by the health department. Wilson County is doing something similar and ask that residents call the health department at 620-378-4455. Residents can also sign up on the Wilson Medical Center website. Labette County residents should call 620-778-6272 to make an appointment or be placed on the waiting list. Neosho County residents can call the health department at 620-431-5770. The SEK Multi-County Health Department says residents in Bourbon, Allen, and Woodson counties won't need to make an appointment because they're planning mass vaccine clinics. Those will be announced once they're scheduled. And finally, officials in Crawford County say they're ready to activate Phase 2 and anticipate vaccine will arrive in mid-February, but we do not know if they're currently making a waiting list. All of the officials we talked to ask that you please be patient because vaccine supply is still limited, so appointments will be too.
Eventually, we'll get enough vaccine to be able to vaccinate whoever wants to be vaccinated. And we hope that happens sooner rather than later. But until then, we are doing our absolute best.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
We've also added this information to the vaccine page on our website. That's at koamnewsnow.com/vaccine. We've lost 13 more people to COVID-19 just in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The health department yesterday said the death toll in the city jumped by 7 to 112. Elsewhere in the county, it jumped by 6 to 119. That's a total of 231 lives lost to COVID just in Joplin and Jasper County. The 13 men and women added to the death toll ranged in age from 50 years old to their 80s. To get updated COVID information from other area communities, you can click on the link at koamnewsnow.com. Transcatheter aortic valve replacement, or TAVR, is a minimally invasive procedure for heart patients who cannot risk open heart surgery. And yesterday, Freeman Health System celebrated providing more than 200 of those surgeries. Officials say it requires a team of surgeons and represents a milestone for the hospital. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities say they found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an air and ground search. Whitaker was released on furlough by a Montgomery County judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities also say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. He's now in the Woodson County Jail. The Seneca, Missouri School District is considering a 4-day school week. The main reason for considering this change? To help the students. The change would extend the school day by about 30 minutes, giving more time to help students in areas they may struggle with. The school district sent out a survey to parents to see how they might feel, and results showed a majority are either in favor of the proposed change or just did not care.
Because I was really expecting it to be about 50-50, 50% of the people for it, 50% of the people against it. But the survey results, we were more along the lines of about 70% were either strongly for it, or, you know what, 5-day, 4-day, it doesn't matter to me.
The committee will meet to develop a 4- and 5-day school calendar, which will be presented to the school board on February 15th. 6:07.
Does Cab 1 have that shot on it? Dylan, does Cab 1 have the two? It's Chex Mix from a very special lady. That's what it is. My good friend Rick Norton, he called me out on it.
He said, "What's that bag of goodies?"
He's like, what are you eating? What do you eat? It's Chex Mix. It's healthy. I do want everybody to know that, and I can't put it down. Like, yeah.
It's one of those things you just can't have one bite. Just keep going.
No, that was the worst part. It is. It's like is that Pringles? Once you pop, you can't stop. Is that Pringles?
I think
Yeah. Once I started on the Chex Mix, look, it even says Hayslip on it.
I'm thinking that we might have to have some kind of an intervention where we just take the bag away from you.
Chex Mix and coffee, Rick. That's what I got, and
He's not even sharing. That's the funny part.
I have offered, not only you, Jesse Conley behind the camera, I have offered you both the Chex Mix.
Have you now?
I'm gonna get you a bowl. I want you to come back on one of our lighthearted mitten stories, and I want you to have a bowl of Chex Mix.
Okay.
Deal?
Sounds like a plan.
Yes. Temperatures up into the mid-40s today. We stay on the dry side up until Saturday night. That's when we get a little rain, followed by a cold front for the middle of next week. Next week's going to be interesting. We're going to get everything from rain to cold to snow. So enjoy the beginning of the weekend. I'm going to go get you a bowl.
Thank you. Next segment would be perfect for that. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a struggling industry.
Dry cleaners have seen sales plummet during the pandemic. I'm Nancy Chin with what some companies are doing to survive.
Plus, a look at what would happen to the coronavirus if every single person wore a mask in public. And we're going to tell you how much you're going to have to cough up if you want to buy a home from Matt Damon. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Well, a treat for Bridgerton fans, and a new movie explores deep friendship during troubling times.
What you got there?
Some tasty Chex Mix.
Danye Bacchus with our Eye on Entertainment report.
3 friends come together after a devastating diagnosis in the upcoming movie Our Friend.
How you feeling?
Tired. Thanks for being here.
I won't miss it.
The film, based on a true story, follows journalist Matt Teague, whose best friend moves in after Teague's wife is diagnosed with cancer. Our Friend, starring Casey Affleck, Dakota Johnson, and Jason Segel, is playing in select theaters and on demand today. Filming for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 4 is underway in New York. Rachel Brosnahan, who plays comedian Midge Maisel, posted a picture of herself inside a bubble on her Instagram page, saying that production looks a little different this year. No word on when the new season will be ready for streaming.
All is fair in love and war.
And Netflix runaway hit Bridgerton has been renewed for a second season. The Shonda Rhimes-produced Regency-era drama follows the 8 siblings of London's well-to-do Bridgerton family as they pursue love and avoid scandal. Season 2 will feature eldest brother Anthony's quest for a suitable wife. Filming begins in the spring. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Did you read, Michael?
Soak into it all morning long. I love it. I love it. It's great.
All right, so as soon as we take the video, we'll start talking about it. All this could be yours for a mere $21 million. All
right, so Matt Damon and Luciana Barrasso, they're selling their what they call a Zen-like mansion in the Pacific Palisades of LA. 7-bedroom, if you have friends over. 10-bath, if you have multiple kids. 13,500 square foot home. All that can be yours for 21 mil.
I've always wondered, like, how is the ratio of bathrooms to bedrooms supposed to work out in a house?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because this one has way more bathrooms than they do bedrooms.
Shelly Hildebrand, text me and tell me why, tell me what the ratio is. I would love to know if that is like a static thing.
Yeah, because I have 5 bedrooms and 3
There's
bathrooms.
actually an old commercial.
2 bathrooms.
There's an old commercial that has a friend of mine in it where she actually says, did I mention it has 5 rooms?
Oh, but what kind of rooms?
All right, we have blown through the clock here, folks. I hope you're having a good time with us. It's a Friday. We're having a good time as well. We'll be back right after this.
In Money Watch this morning, the pandemic has affected many industries, but one of the hardest hit is dry cleaners. Nancy Chen shows us how some are trying to adapt to stay open.
Yale Cleaners opened in Oklahoma 75 years ago, but none of that experience could prepare them for the past year.
What is the state of business?
Our business currently is down about 35%.
Owner John Rothrock says Americans working from home in casual wear no longer need to dry clean their work clothes. And business is hurt because of fewer parties, weddings, and other occasions to dress up.
We had to furlough several employees, and then we closed a location.
The Dry Cleaning and Laundry Institute believes 30% of dry cleaners could be forced to shut down over the next 18 months. Those who remain open are trying to adjust.
Our plan is to help them reinvent themselves.
Don Avery with the National Cleaners Association says many cleaners are now offering new services like alterations or wash and fold for families.
Because households are chaotic now with homeschooling and working from home and things that you didn't have to do before.
Yale Cleaners has adapted by adopting technology.
Using the Yale Cleaners app, select the On My Way button to alert our team you're en route to get your dry cleaning.
Customers can pay online and get a touchless pickup. The company is also offering same-day delivery.
Do you think that these changes have helped keep you in business?
I think it definitely has helped to keep us in business. I've seen a lot of dry cleaners that their sales are still down 50, 70%, and we're sitting down around 35%.
Dry cleaners hope the vaccine means there are brighter days ahead. Many are just trying to hold out until then. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
That's it for Money Watch. Now here's Michael with your forecast.
Don't worry about it, Justin Conley. We're cool, man. Skywatch Storm Tracker with very, very light cloud cover compared to what we had yesterday. A live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, where we sit at 33 degrees. Only feels, though, like 28. Humidity staying low. We love that because that will keep us away from that patchy fog that we had to put up with yesterday. And with the pressure and the barometer on the rise, that means a whole bunch of sunshine headed our way on this Friday. 29 right now in Nevada, 33 in Welch, 32 in Monette, and 30 in Neodesha. So not the wide variety of temperatures that we've had, but you'll notice the wind has shifted, now moving in from the northeast, and so we'll be a little bit cooler, even though we're going to get more sunshine today. All the precipitation stays down in the Gulf. They got some flooding concerns right now when you roll through Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, etc., Georgia. Yeah, they got a little bit of a mess on their hands right there. And even south, this is interesting too, as we press into the weekend. Southeastern Oklahoma, they are actually talking about the threat of hail over the weekend. And like I say, this is southeastern Oklahoma that I wanted, not northeastern, southeastern Oklahoma. They're talking about hail, even the threat of tornadoes over the weekend. And so just give you an idea of what's going to be to the south of us. But still, a delightful day today as we'll have sunny skies, highs in the 40s. And we don't have the threat of any type of weather until we get to next week. We'll be back right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, if nearly everyone wore a mask in public, the spread of COVID-19 would be dramatically reduced. That's according to a new study. And President Joe Biden is beginning his presidency by asking everyone to use one and mandating it where he can. Mandy Gaither has more on what that means for Americans.
Before becoming the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden made his stance on masks clear.
For God's sake, wear a mask, if not for yourself, for your loved ones, for your country.
In his first executive order, President Biden enacted the 100 Days Masking Challenge. While the president can't tell states or cities what to do, a federal mandate will require anyone on federal lands or in federal offices to wear a mask. It also urges states to do the same. A recent study led by UCLA researchers and published in the January edition of the peer-reviewed journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that if everyone would wear a mask in public and and continue health measures like social distancing and hand washing, the rate of the coronavirus spread would essentially be reduced to zero. The researchers say public mask wearing is the most effective at reducing the spread of the virus when compliance is high. In a statement, co-author Anne Ramoyne says this research makes clear that even as vaccines are developed and new variants are being discovered, the power to protect ourselves remains in our hands, adding, wearing a mask is one of the simplest, most effective, and cheapest ways to do exactly that. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The study also suggests mask-wearing mandates across the country could add $1 trillion to the U.S. gross domestic product. Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination map shows only a handful of locations where folks can get vaccinated, but the Health Department administrator in Newton County, Missouri, says that's about to change. Newton County Health Department head Larry Bergner has been responding to hundreds of emails from folks wondering when and where they can get vaccinated, and he's got an answer.
Many providers were able to order vaccine this week. Yesterday, Wednesday, we actually made an order. And so we anticipate that we'll be getting that vaccine hopefully next week, if not the week after.
Bergner says the reason many sites do not have vaccines yet is because they don't have the means to store the Pfizer vaccine, which requires extremely cold temperatures. It's easier to store the Moderna vaccine, which is what many sites will soon be receiving. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We're going to have beautiful, beautiful Friday weather as we're going to have a whole bunch of sunshine, a nice relief from what we had yesterday. And I think it's also a key factor that we don't have to fight the fog. When that thing set in yesterday and those dense fog advisories started popping up, that was something else. So the nice thing is we're able to keep that humidity down about 60% right now. Now here's the thing, as you work especially down to the south, we get extremely dry. We actually are going to have an elevated fire risk throughout the southern portion of southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. So I need everybody to be apprised of that situation as well. I don't know if we haven't had wind or anything like that. I don't think there's a whole lot of brush to burn or anything of that nature, but do be very careful if you're doing that today or over the weekend. Now, Saturday night, the rain kicks in. Sunday begins our system of precipitation that eventually turns to snow by the middle of next week.
The latest as Kansas moves to phase 2 of vaccine distribution. Plus a look into why Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination sites have a limited supply, and Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the latest on President Biden's newly signed series of executive orders. And for our morning talker, we're asking, where do you get most of your news from? You can participate in our Insta poll at koamnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
I want to go over to the newsnow.com, the Insta poll and the Facebook page. I promise it's not a self-serving question. And those of you who have engaged us so far have been extremely kind with what you've said. Extremely kind. And I want you to know that Tanya, me, Jesse Conley behind the camera, Jesse Irwin, Dylan, Allie, Will, all up in the control room, friends, and Trenton back in master control. We greatly appreciate the kind words that you have for us this morning, because it does go to show that it does go to show that you guys there's a matter of trust when it comes to news.
I think you left one person out, a big part of our morning news.
Who?
Caden.
No. He's got the other show now. No.
But he is.
I'll bring that dude up later. As a matter of fact, after I do the 7-day forecast right here, I'm gonna go in and be like, no, I didn't bring you up because you switched shows on us. How about that?
But this is the questions are still his segment, so.
Nah, I'll take it up with him. I know. I knew who you were talking about when you said you left somebody off. I'm like, no, I didn't. Not off this show, I didn't. Those of you who know who Tanya's talking about, I referred to him as our incomparable producer, Caden Milner. Yes.
So now we dedicated like 2 minutes to him, so there
yes,
you go.
I know. But no, like I said, and I'm dead serious when I say this. I appreciate all your engagement on Facebook, and also too, I want everybody to know this was not a self-serving question, but just from the comments that we've read so far, it has been very uplifting on this Friday morning. It's been really cool.
Thank you, 4 states. We do appreciate it. Well, Kansas is moving into phase 2 of the coronavirus vaccine distribution. This new phase opens up eligibility for the vaccine to residents 65 and older, people in congregate settings, and high contact critical workers. This comes as all of the 4-state area is still receiving relatively small numbers of doses each week. And there are approximately 1 million Kansans in phase 2, but the next shipment for the state is only around 45,000 new first doses. Local health departments will be in charge of who gets the vaccines first, and 2 we talked to say they are ready.
We are super ready and we're super excited. There's some logistics to work out still, but for the most part, we are just ready to get going.
We're ready to move into phase 2. The health department started scheduling appointments this morning, and we'll have our first drive-through vaccination event tomorrow here in Columbus.
We have also added this information to the vaccine page on our website at koamnewsnow.com/vaccine. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities say they found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an air and ground search. Whitaker was released on furlough by a Montgomery County judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities also say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. He's now in the Woodson County Jail. A mother in St. Louis County, Missouri is speaking out about a frightening experience she had with local police. She says officers tried to force their way into her home because they mistakenly thought a suspect was hiding inside. Ashley Lincoln reports.
So I said, if I open the door, are y'all going to kill me? Or are y'all going to kill me?
Takita Roseman says it was a harrowing encounter.
My kids are still hysterical. I'm hysterical.
Yes, I was scared. I was terrified.
As North County Cooperative Police tried to barge into her home looking for a suspect Saturday morning.
And I said, y'all is at the wrong apartment. And so they steady knocking on the door. LaKeisha opened the door. I said, y'all at the wrong apartment.
Roseman was inside with her 2 kids.
They almost actually got in because the door was it was getting loose, and my mama had to hold the doorknob so they wouldn't get in.
She says she was terrified to open the door after seeing cases like the killing of Breonna Taylor and a raid by Chicago police who arrested an innocent woman who was naked in her home after police responded to the wrong house.
One of the officers was just steady trying to, steady trying to get in my apartment. I probably would have been dead.
She says the ordeal lasted around 3 hours.
I lift up my blinds, show my ID in the right-hand corner. I said, if I show y'all my ID, would y'all please leave me alone?
I reached out to North County Cooperative Police. A spokesperson says they were looking for a known suspect with multiple felonies, and their officers thought that the suspect was inside of Roseman's home. Police say earlier that morning the suspect stole a North County Co-op patrol vehicle, later dumping the car near Roseman's apartment. They say their K-9 unit tracked the suspect to this complex. The threat of backup brought Roseman to stop fighting.
And so I finally gave in when they said the SWAT team was arriving. This is just a whole shock to me.
I feel like she did the right thing because it wasn't her.
Roseman says police did apologize for the incident. Police say they're still looking for the suspect but would not release the identity because the investigation is ongoing. Fort Scott, Kansas residents have wanted a local place to get groceries for a while now, and now a new general store has just opened up. It's called the Star Emporium Downtown General Store. The owner says he wants to provide budget brands as well as locally sourced produce. Construction of the store took about 60 days and the store opened this week. There is a whiteboard inside where customers can request new items. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. A new coronavirus plan in the works.
President Biden just announced his new strategy to fight the raging coronavirus, which yesterday took just less than 4,000 more American lives. I'm Deborah Alferone on Capitol Hill with more on that, plus what Dr. Anthony Fauci is already saying about the new administration.
Plus, for our morning talker, we're asking, where do you get most of your news from? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Sunny skies, but now that the wind has shifted from the northeast, it's going to be a little bit cooler than what it was yesterday. Highs in the mid-40s. Delightful beginning of the weekend until the rain begins on Sunday and a cold front drops in for the middle of next week. Be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, President Biden released a 198-page plan to manage and fight the coronavirus. He also signed a series of executive orders to ramp up production of critical supplies and vaccines. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the administration's chief medical officer, is welcoming these changes. CBS's Deborah Alferone has the latest from Washington.
This is a wartime undertaking.
President Biden is promising a full-scale attack against COVID-19.
We didn't get into this mess overnight. It's going to take months for us to turn things around.
The new president signed 10 executive orders yesterday to fight the coronavirus. One invokes the Defense Production Act to increase the supply of PPE, tests, and vaccines.
We need more vaccine, and we need it now.
Many of the nation's vaccination centers can't keep up with the demand.
We're doing 1,000 doses a day, or today, because that's all that we have received.
Another executive order mandates the use of masks in airports and on planes, trains, and intercity buses.
The masks have become a partisan issue, unfortunately, but it's a patriotic act.
With thousands of Americans dying every day from the virus, President Biden was realistic about the challenges ahead.
Let me be very clear. Things are going to continue to get worse before they get better.
After months of President Trump downplaying the virus,
it's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he welcomes the new attitude in the White House.
One of the things that we're going to do is to be completely transparent, open, and honest.
The White House underwent a deep COVID cleanse between administrations. There are new social distancing measures throughout the building and aides wearing N95 masks at all times. Deborah Alferone, CBS News, Washington.
That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Tanya on the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning, we're asking where you get most of your news from. And like I said, this is not a self-serving question. You all have honestly been just too kind. Richard Mann, he says Newsmax, OAN, says those are the only ones you can trust to tell the truth. Becky Mengarelli says, I don't believe most of what I read on social media. I watch the news on TV, KOAM, and keep my social media for entertainment. Glenn Ritchie says, KOAM TV, first on my list, mostly for local news, sports, and weather. You guys rock. Glenn, thank you once again. After that, CBS News. At times, I fact check using others, but you guys are my main go-to. Guy Hansen says, I tend to provide more information on social media than look for it there in order to keep my friends close, enemies closer. Start my days at 4 a.m., ABC World News Now. Great show, by the way. And then Guy says total propaganda for the Biden regime. One of my friends is a producer there. Guy, I really think they do a really good job. I really do. I surf back and forth through the alphabet through all the other lamestream networks to see that they have all received the same orders from headquarters. Guy says I use the major networks' websites, which are most exclusively pro-Dem, with special awards for hate mongering and inciting violence going to MSNBC, CNN. Constitutional scholar Mark Levin brings me to a dose of sanity every weekday evening and hope that leaders like Ted Cruz will stand up to the tyranny that is overtaking us. Guy says, have a nice day. P.S. Please don't turn me in. I'm a member of the resistance. Join it. Guy, come on. We appreciate your comments and the engagement you give us. Don't worry about that. John Trebian says, I always start my day off with KOAM. Great job, folks. I also like conservative radio and Washington Watch. Don't trust mainstream media. Good morning, America. We say good morning, John. Right now, 55% of you on the KOAM News Now Insta poll say you get your news from television, 28% websites, and then I was amazed at the drop-off after that. Single digits for social media, radio, magazines, and newspaper. Magazines, 2%. Just changing, and I've always found it fascinating. I love to have the conversation about where we used to receive our news from and where we get it now. I think it's a great social conversation. We'll be back with birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Donald Brown Jr., who served in the United States Navy from 1965 to 1969. He served in Vietnam and at Panama. His hometown, Nevada, Missouri. We are proud to salute Donald Brown Jr., our four-state hero.
Let's begin our birthday list with Ellis Guffey. Mr. Ellis is celebrating number 2. Ellis, birthday present in hand, by the way. Kids ready to rock and roll right now. Happy birthday, Ellis.
All right, happy birthday. And happy birthday wishes going out to Carson Allen. Somebody's a Chiefs fan there in Chanute, turning 9 years old.
Old Carson counting down to Sunday, isn't he? Gonna be ready to rock and roll. That game is on CBS, right? The Super Bowl, however, is February 7th, right here on CBS.
That's right.
I know that much. I know that much.
Oh, shoot.
It doesn't matter what station it's on. Every Chief fan's going to find it. It doesn't matter. So this is an interesting one here because Rayleigh Gray, and I'm going to tell you why this is interesting. So Rayleigh is celebrating a 15th birthday, but here's what I'm supposed to tell Rayleigh. I'm supposed to say it's from the camp. And I don't know the backstory here. And so Rayleigh, a very happy birthday from us here at KOAM and from the camp. And we'll try to find out what that's about.
All right, our next.
Are you texting Rayleigh?
I'm looking something up. Yep.
Well, no, I saw you over there. I thought maybe you were texting Rayleigh to find out. Quinn O'Rand, Gerard Trojan Pride. What a cool picture right there. I love a little in-action photo. That's too cool. Happy 17th birthday to Mr. Quinn. Quinn, I want you to have a great rest of the season, buddy.
All right. Emily Thompson out in Fredonia. What a great picture there of Emily turning 23 years old.
Now, if you're out in Vernon County, okay, if you're in the old Vern Co. and you run into Miss Kelsey Westerhold, number 1, I want you to wish her a happy birthday. But number 2, I want you to congratulate her on being the newly elected public administrator. So Kelsey, number 1, happy birthday. Number 2, congratulations as she celebrates in Shelby.
All right. And Rod Fleming turning 57 years old in Parsons, Kansas.
Steve Burnage, he has a 68th birthday. Happy birthday to Steve. He's in Pittsburgh.
And John McLean turning the big 7-0 this year.
Wait. Oh, that John McClane.
Yeah.
Well, no, I thought we were gonna revert back to is Die Hard a Christmas movie? That John McClane. I know that John McClane.
Okay, I don't know how to follow that. Let's see. Somebody else that's turning 70. How about that? Tom Epler in Columbus. His birthday was actually yesterday, but we want to celebrate with you this morning.
I lost you on the John McClane one, didn't I? I lost you. We got to get that camera out of the way because that's not on you, Jesse Conley. I haven't.
I could just lean to the
I know.
right.
I couldn't see her facial reaction there when I was talking about John
I'm
McClane.
hiding.
I was laughing. Charles and Daisy Ritz. How about this? They're celebrating their 65th anniversary. What a gorgeous bouquet of flowers right there. That is absolutely phenomenal. And Charles and Daisy, a huge congratulations from all of us here. 65 years, and they are celebrating in Chanute.
All right, and our list goes on with Ron Downing celebrating a birthday in Pittsburgh. Bocino Nemello and Crestline, our neighbor there, happy birthday to you. Lisa Lazat in Joplin, birthday wishes going out to you.
Doug Schultz, I want to wish you a happy 68th birthday. Special wishes coming from our incomparable producer, Caden Milner, as Doug celebrates his 68th in Pittsburgh. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
I have two announcements for you. The first one is about our birthday club. You can be a part of it by going to our website and signing up, and once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. And yes, you can watch the AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and
that's
the Bills
what you were looking up.
right here on KOAM. Kickoff is at 5:40. However, if you live in the UK, you have to watch Sky Sports NFL. They have a special channel for it over there.
We are corporate shills, and we finish this show next.
Today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. On his first full day in office, President Biden signed 10 executive orders in his administration's war on COVID-19. One of the orders mandates the use of masks in airports and on planes, trains, and intercity buses. Another invokes the Defense Production Act to speed production and delivery of COVID tests, vaccines, masks, and other PPE for healthcare workers. We've lost 13 more people to COVID-19 just in Joplin and Jasper County alone. The health department yesterday said the death toll in the city jumped by 7 to 112. Elsewhere in the county, it jumped by 6 to 119. That's a total of 231 lives lost to COVID just in Joplin and Jasper County. 13 men and women added to the death toll ranged in age from 50 years old to their 80s. To get an updated COVID information from other area communities, you can click on the link at KOAMnewsnow.com. Missouri's COVID-19 vaccination map shows only a handful of locations where folks can get vaccinated, but the health department administrator in Newton County, Missouri says that's about to change. The reason many sites do not have vaccines yet is because they don't have the means to store the Pfizer vaccine, which requires extremely cold temperatures. It's easier to store the Moderna vaccine, which is what many sites will soon be receiving. Several Southeast Kansas law enforcement agencies team up to find and arrest a suspect in multiple crimes, including shootings in Coffeyville and Independence. Authorities say they found Benjamin Whitaker Wednesday night in Yates Center after an air and ground search. Whitaker was released on furlough by a Montgomery County judge to attend his grandmother's funeral, but he never came back. Authorities also say Whitaker stole money from an ATM in Parsons while he was furloughed. He's now in the Woodson County Jail. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
It's Friday, Tanya. Did we have a good time?
I think we have.
I think we have. I think we have had a pretty good time today. Temperatures ranging right now anywhere from the low 20s out in southeast Kansas all the way up to 31 in Pittsburgh, and then we drop back down into the mid-20s throughout southwest Missouri. Our weather trend for today, good dose of sunshine, highs in the mid-40s, and a delightful end to our work week / beginning of the weekend. We don't need to worry about precipitation until we get into late Saturday and the Sunday. Then drastic changes coming up next week with a cold front that could even result with some snow by the time we get to Wednesday.
All right, Michael, coming up today at noon.
When the birthday list ends up with coffee on it, like, that's a good Friday, right?
Yeah. Can I say what we're making at noon?
What are we making at noon?
A sheet pan toad in a hole.
A what?
A sheet pan toad in a hole. You'll have to
have a great, safe weekend and a wonderful Friday. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.
We're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance is brought to you